You're on the front lines of this, Bob. What have you seen, and where have these programs been lacking?
Well, I think I can't fault anybody. All this was done so fast and so needed, but I don't think it was well thought through. It's like they're putting us small businesses in the middle of trying to employ people with rules that are prohibitive for many businesses. The intent was great, that they wanted to keep paying people and to help us pay for our bills, but the forgivable part of the loan, the restrictions on are just too much for my business to get back on its feet.
Yeah, so Bob, talk to us more about that. I have heard some concerns. Well, of course, it was made quickly, and so they just wanted to get money out the door. There were some restrictions that really hurt some of the small business owners, mainly the PPP program, where in theory it was meant to keep employees on the payroll, but might not have been as effective. What were some of the challenges you faced with that Paycheck Protection Program?
Well, originally it was 8 weeks, and in 8 weeks we had the government tell us we couldn't operate either at all or at limited capacity. And then we had all the safety concerns, of course. Even if we could open, a lot of the employees didn't want to come back. And then third, it's like a lot of employees were making more money on unemployment than coming back to work. So you put all this together and it kind of made no sense. The government gave me all this money that's sitting in a bank account that I can't use for the intended purpose because it doesn't work. It makes no sense. The biggest thing is
Bob,
they want me to get back to full capacity employment. And I went from 157 to 4 employees. There's no way I could hire back 150 employees over the next few weeks.
Bob, one of the challenges I'm hearing from people who run businesses like yours, whether it's restaurant, coffee shops, is the fact that, as you said, there's this weight on you to get back to full employment level staffings. But what do your establishments look like? I mean, if people are still keeping their distance, do you have to remodel what your shops look like? And is that going to mean that fewer people are even allowed to come through the door?
Exactly, and that's what we're going through. And each one of my stores is totally different neighborhood, and faces totally different issues. We have stores that are reliant on university traffic, and the university left early, and I don't know if they're coming back. We have another store on a university campus. We have a very big, large cafe that is intentionally designed as a gathering place. We have a board game cafe. All these things were specifically done for gathering, and that's exactly what we don't want and need right now. So all my stores are closed. We only our wholesale coffee operation, roasting operation is open.
Bob, we heard from the president this morning. He said that he's going to ask Congress to pass more stimulus and looking at a PPP Flexibility Program. If you had members of Congress listening right now, what kind of stimulus would actually be very helpful to you?
Great question. One, we need to get rid of this whole idea that our businesses are going to get back to a certain level at a certain point. Somehow it's like if we're doing the best we can, that should be good enough for what their intended purpose is. I can't predict customers coming back in the next 6 months. So I would like the government to take care of paying employees. There's no reason I should be put in the middle of that. You want to help me pay my rent, pay my utilities, great. But let me figure out if I need 5 employees or 20 right now, and I'll deal with that. You guys cover the unemployment for the rest of them. Don't lend me money based on hiring people that I don't need.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bob, you mentioned the fact that a number of challenges that you're facing, and one of them sounds very familiar to what we have going on in Canada right now, that the emergency pay that they put in place to make sure people had a roof over their heads, could put food on the table, very necessary in the early innings, it's generous. It's stopping them from coming back to work. They're saying, what is the point? Do you feel that there needs to be a pivot at some point on the government's part to make sure that people have the right incentive to want to get back on a private payroll?
Well, I try to balance that. Yes, it is more money they're making on unemployment. But yet, they need it. This country's economic system is so weighted. There's such diversity and inequity, and so it's only fair that they're making something. And this is just a token of what they need. So I'm hoping this is a step in a direction that this country looks at policies of all sorts and starts working toward this inequity issue, because that's the only thing that's going to solve this long term. we can talk about short-term fixes all we want, but we need to talk long-term.
Long term, Bob, are you hearing anecdotally that people won't return to your restaurants, to your cafes, unless there's a vaccine?
Oh, yeah. I mean, mostly from employees, but customers too. Every time I put out a notice, update what we're doing to employees or customers, I get thank you letters from people saying, we don't want to come back either to work, or we're not coming back to your restaurant even if you're open. You're doing the right thing at this point. Financially, it's devastating and it's hurting. And we're fortunate enough that we own some real estate and we've been in business for 20-something years. But people I know that don't have that, they're not going to be around next year. The small business climate in Nashville has been changing over the last few years anyway, because of the growth and how cool we are. And small local businesses are being priced out of the market. This is just making it worse. Nashville's going to start looking like every other city. It's losing its charm quickly.